Now let's look at the solution to question number 8. Now question number 8 comes from the category of short answer questions. It's simply laid out as answer any 5 of the following questions in 30 to 40 words each. Clearly mention that for each correct question you get 2 marks. You can choose out of the given questions which 5 you would like to answer, and in total the section gives you complete 10 marks. The distribution of marks is also simply laid out that the content carries 1 mark, the expression carries 1 mark. So you have to ensure that this is what you keep in mind while writing answers. Do not go overboard with explanation of the same. Stick to 30 to 40 words and I'm sure it will be fine. Now if I look at the first question, it says how is the mother tongue important to a person? What does M. Hamill, the teacher, say about it? Now remember in the chapter, the last lesson, Mr. Hamill expresses his thoughts about French language. Pick up the same value point and express them in a paragraph, simply laid out, such as mother tongue plays a very significant role in one's life. Describe it connects an individual to one's roots, culture and nation. Follow the schematics of the lecture here, because in the entire last lesson he highlights the significance of French language to people of Alsace and Lorraine, and then describe that it gives an identity to an individual with respect to the nation. Moreover, Mr. Hamill, the teacher, says that we must guard our mother tongue because it is the key to the prison of colonization. Remember the metaphor that he uses. Talk about that and your answer is complete. Now, the second question goes as, why didn't Sophie want Chauncey to know about her meeting with Danny Casey? Remember in the chapter Going Places, you have the conversation between Sophie and Chauncey. Picking on those lines, the value points incorporated would be because Sophie knew that Chauncey was a blabbermouth. Similarly, she could never keep a secret was a valid thing that she was aware of, and thus she would spill the beans, and hence Sophie was cautious. Also, remember that the whole neighborhood would come to know about it had she made the details available to Chauncey, and thus we can simply say that that was the reason Sophie didn't want Chauncey to know about her meeting with Danny Casey. Now, the next question says, how bad were the living conditions in which Mukeshs and his family survived? If you can recall from the chapter Lost Spring, Mukeshs survived in pathetic living conditions in his bangle making family. Thus, you pick on value points such as Mukeshs belonged to a poor family. He lived with 4 other family members in the same house. He and his family members were engaged in bangle making since centuries. So you establish that as the context of the question and then describe that they were barely able to earn 2 square meals a day, the miserable conditions and poverty. They lived in a windowless hovel resembling half-built shack with crumbling walls, wobbly iron door and a stinking lane choked with garbage. So once you've described the part, your question carries all the essential value points that you have to answer the same. Now, the next question says, why has the poet mentioned merry children spilling out of their homes in the poem My Mother at 66? So when you recall the part where the poet was trying to divert her attention from the dying condition of her mother or the nearly aging condition of a mother. In that context, you pick on the value point that the poet wanted to divert her mind from the sadness and melancholy when she looks at her old mother. At the same time, she is showing contrast between old age and childhood. So this contrast bit is highlighted. Similarly, childhood symbolizes the starting of the life, vitality, and in opposition, old age reflects the end, nearing death as a stage. Moving on, question number E says, how is Antarctica different from the place you live in? So from the chapter Journey to the End of the Earth, you can easily pick up the value points about Antarctica as simply as that Antarctica is immense, isolated, expansive landscape, uninterrupted blue horizon, best place to study past, present and future of the earth. On the contrary, our place is crowded, polluted, buildings everywhere, vehicular congestion. So describe these in a paragraph and your answer will highlight how this contrast is laid out in the chapter. Next we have question number F saying, on seeing Roger's skunk again with a very bad smell, how did the little animals react first and then later on when he had lost it? So remember, when Roger's skunk goes to the wizard to get himself changed in the chapter why wizard should hit mommy, you have to recall that other animals kept themselves away due to the foul smell of Roger. But after coming back from the wizard, all the other little animals gathered around him because now Roger smelled so good. And they played tag, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, hockey, soccer and pick up sticks. So when you describe the whole scene, the transition comes when he smelled foul again. Other animals got used to the way he was and did not mind it at all. So both the reactions are covered in the answer and it becomes a complete answer. Lastly, question number G says, I felt like sinking to the floor, said Zipkalasa. When did she feel so and why? So remember, in memories of childhood, when Zipkalasa is describing that horrific incident that happened to her, you pick on that and you begin with she felt so on the first day of her school. Similarly, it was when her blanket had been stripped from her shoulders. Thus, you can easily say that she felt ashamed because it was against her tradition and culture, and what happened to her was a torturous experience. Thus, she felt immodest as she was wearing a tight dress. So, when I describe the incident by giving details of it, then it becomes a wholesome answer. So, I hope the short answer questions were now clear and you will be able to see how the answers are not laid out in fancy language but clear-cut, accurate value points. So with this, we can now easily proceed to question number 9. Let's look at the solution to question number 9.